Many, many years ago, I was a financial journalist. I met with, the heads of VC firms. These people are, they are, out to make money however they can. They are maybe potentially unscrupulous in how they do it on occasion. They're not stupid. And they also, it is a mystery how they seem to have fallen, for this very obvious con. And it seems in some quarters there's speculation that, the VCs fell for the kind of cult of Bankman-Fried. They were kind of drawn in by the mythos. And, that wouldn't happen. As you say, they would want very detailed, financial records. They would want access to every bit of paper the firm had in order to make a judgment whether to invest, let alone to value it so highly. And so that's a real mystery. And it's very, very, very strange. And I mean, again, this is just speculation. I don't engage in speculation. I try to avoid it. But it does raise the prospect that there's potentially a CIA interest in FTX, to my mind. So In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's venture capital arm, it is a highly influential organization within the VC sphere. By its own calculations, for every dollar it invests in business, $15 will be invested by other VC firms. That is a kind of multiplier effect. And it doesn't always advertise its investments publicly. We do know, however, that the CIA it has for many years taken a very keen interest in crypto. And the CIA chief a few years back admitted that the agency was working on a number of crypto projects. So, I mean, the financial capacity of FTX, the kind of clout and credibility, that was kind of implied by working there, and indeed, yes, all of those shell companies, that would have been attractive to the CIA, certainly. And I think that, you don't reach the heights that Sam Bankman-Fried did, and you don't have all of these, wealthy, powerful people, promoting you in public and giving you vast amounts of money without someone vouching for you along the way. Who or what that was, we don't know. But yes, it's a very curious feature. And like I say, I find it very odd that he's not in jail. I mean, there were initial reports that he was under supervision by the authorities in the Bahamas. He's since appeared via live stream at various events, and he still uses Twitter. I mean, that does imply some level of protection, or indeed that there are certain untouchables within the structure who don't want this looked at, and therefore no one is. And it's interesting, yes, that there are all these pictures of Sam Bankman-Fried grinning alongside the very lawmakers who are meant to be investigating him and his firm. That does tend to suggest that they will not approach it honestly, and that they will leave certain stones unturned. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Nugan Bank, but this was effectively a CIA bank in Australia that was used for funding CIA operations. Was responsible for the flow of heroin into Australia for the very first time. That was a absolutely huge scandal which erupted very briefly and then was swept under the rug. And the official inquiry into this concluded that there was no evidence to suggest that the CIA had any role in this bank, even though the evidence was abundant, and they reference it in their own report, exonerating the company. But yeah, the fact that so many people lost money means that there needs to be an appearance, at the very least, of authorities taking an interest in this. But there's all sorts of, again, in terms of protection, there's all sorts of very strange, odd little kernels that have arisen. So, for instance, Sam Bankman-Fried invested tens of millions in a very small bank in a rural part of the US that had about 100 customers and mainly issues farm loans. And this was not only his investment in it was not only many times the bank's assets under management, it was also many times its actual value. Now, this is a bank that doesn't offer credit cards or online banking. Why? And yet, people looking at this have said that this should have been a massive red flag to regulators. but it went through apparently unmolested. Now again, that does seem to suggest that and either we have a situation where all of these different individuals, organisations that should have seen what was coming. They were to one way or another turning a blind eye, or they were just completely in the dark about this. I mean, it's all very, very odd. And you would think that at some stage in the past 3 years, one person would have raised concerns publicly. Or there would have been some kind of. I mean, this is a company that it seems it didn't have any audited accounts for Alameda Research, which is the other SPF company that seems to effectively have been the same as FTX. Which Sam Bankman-Fried is funneling billions to. They weren't fully audited, and they seem to have recruited an auditor via the metaverse. Again, like it boggles the mind, really. So, quite clearly, I would suggest he was allowed to do this, and there was something or someone behind him who was actually effectively running the show and telling investigators where not to look, and ensuring that he had free reign to carry on. So yeah, I mean, again, after an initial burst of enthusiasm, the media around this seems to be dying down. Sam Bankman-Fried appears to have gotten his story straight insofar as he claims it was all a big accident, and he actually did have the money, and if it hadn't gone to bankruptcy, if they hadn't filed for bankruptcy, they would have been able to, refund all their customers and everything. And again, that he seems to, apart from certain critical voices, these comments are passed unchallenged. So I mean, perhaps in a few months' time we'll see a rehabilitation of Bankman-Fried, or indeed this will just vanish forever. I mean, I'm determined to not let it, and I'm keeping a very close eye on filings around this.